Carlos Correa and the Twins are finalizing a $200 million, 6-year pact. Pending physical after $315 million Mets deal unraveled and Giants scrapped $350 million contract over concerns about his surgically repaired leg. Free agent shortstop Carlos Correa agreed to his third long-term deal of the offseason, this time, coming to terms on a 6-year pact worth $200 million to remain with the Minnesota Twins. Correa previously agreed to 9-figure deals with both the San Francisco Giants and the New York Mets, only to watch them unravel amid concerns raised over his surgically repaired leg. ESPN was the first to report Correa's agreement in Minnesota, which could be worth as much as $270 million due to a vesting option tied to certain benchmarks. According to ESPN, Correa's vesting option becomes official, and would add 4 years to the deal, if he can pass a medical review beginning Tuesday and concluding on Wednesday. The shortstop had surgery in 2014 to repair a fractured right fibula as well as damage to his ligaments. The Mets and Giants were reportedly concerned about how Correa's leg would age, prompting both clubs to pull out of their respective agreements. Correa played for Minnesota last season, but declined a $35.1 million player option on his contract to test the free agency market this winter. Twins spokespeople did not immediately respond to DailyMail.com's request for confirmation. Tuesday morning, the New York Post's John Heyman first reported that the Twins' talks with Correa were gaining steam, which may have surprised Mets fans, who believed their team was still working to finalize their 12-year, $315 million agreement with the two-time All-Star. A similar problem put the kibosh on his 13-year, $350 million deal with the Giants, who abruptly canceled a December 20 press conference with their new shortstop when doctors flagged the results of his physical in San Francisco. SNY insider Andy Martino reported last week that the Mets became very frustrated during negotiations, and may have considered abandoning negotiations. A team source cited by SNY claimed New York was considering walking away altogether, though another source mentioned there is a strong chance an accord is reached despite the current difficulties. Other teams also expressed interest in the two-time All-Star, according to Heyman, but it appears as though he is going to remain in Minneapolis. Correa's $200 million deal would be the largest in club history, topping home state hero Joe Mauer's 8-year, $184 million contract extension from 2010. Minnesota appeared ready to hand over the shortstop job to highly touted prospect Royce Lewis, who is coming off a torn ACL in 2022. He is likely to be out until at least June, but there no longer appears to be any urgency on that front now that Correa is returning. The good news for the Mets is that the loss of Correa significantly reduces their payroll for 2022. Billionaire owner Steve Cohen was prepared to spend close to $500 million in player salaries and luxury taxes. Now, without Correa on the books for 2023, that figure will be closer to $444 million, according to the New York Post's Joel Sherman. Of course, that is little consolation to Mets fans, many of whom were looking forward to seeing Correa moving to third base alongside All-Star shortstop Francisco Lindor. Some fans consoled themselves by predicting that two-way Los Angeles Angels sensation Shohei Ohtani will sign in Queens next offseason. Meanwhile, New York Yankees fans poked fun at their crosstown National League rivals, who briefly thought they had stolen the city's spotlight from Aaron Judge and his decision to return to the Bronx in free agency. I'm old enough to remember when the Mets signing Carlos Correa overshadowed Aaron Judge staying home. Read a tweet from documentary filmmaker Randy Wilkins. Newsday's Laura Albanese joked that she can't wait for the Correa tribute video at Citi Field, poking fun at his zero-game tenure with the Mets. The Twins haven't been silent this offseason, adding former Yankees outfielder Joey Gallo and longtime Boston Red Sox catcher Christian Vasquez. The team is also hopeful to get a full season from oft-injured center fielder Byron Buxton, a 29-year-old who hit 28 home runs in just 92 games in 2022. The Mets, meanwhile, now have a vacancy at third base, where Correa had been penciled in alongside Lindor. Aging infielder Eduardo Escobar is still under contract, but his on-base percentage dipped below .300 last season, taking much of his value with it. Another option is promising 23-year-old Brett Baty, who homered twice in 38 at-bats last season. New York also has 21-year-old Dominican shortstop Ronnie Mauricio, who could conceivably be moved to third base.